Matson, celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, Guam's leader in sustainability and electric vehicles. Learn more at carsplusguam.com. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it. And King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Hoppaday, welcome to KUAM News Primetime. I'm Nick Delgado. Happy Fresco Friday. We've got your eye on recovery for you today. June 26th, that's a Monday. The governor confirming she estimates that about 2 weeks from now, 90% of the island power should be restored.
There is really no selection of who gets water and power first. And we are as prepared as we best can be for this huge typhoon. Believe me, we were meeting before the disaster. We were meeting after the disaster. We have a daily briefing at 2:00 p.m. where everybody comes to the table and gives us a briefing. I have no control over water and power, you know that, but they have been so cooperative and they are part of our emergency team.
Almost a third of our island is still waiting to be restored with water. About half of our island residents are still without power, and we know that the power and water utility agencies are working very hard and working their way to try and resume service as much as possible. But we have a portion of our population that have even experienced much more loss and much more hardship than everybody else on the island.
The administration today speaking from the Joint Information Center at Guam Homeland Security, where they announced a program stood up to help those who lost a roof over their heads from Mawar. Local and federal government officials today launching the Roofing Installation Support Emergency Utilization Program, or RISE UP. This means anyone with damaged metal roofs can enroll for the program through their village mayor's office. It is limited to pre-disaster owner-occupied residences, though, and those with commercial properties, including rental units, are ineligible. Brigadier General Kirk Gibbs with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Joint Region Marianas Commander Rear Admiral Benjamin Nicholson speak on how the program will help the people.
They've done ground reconnaissance assessments and flyover assessments as well. And what they found is there are roofs, metal roofs, that need temporary roofing help until more permanent solutions can be achieved. And that's what the Corps of Engineers' job is, to provide temporary roofing for metal roofs where that is needed. There's 3 steps to this process. Number 1, and the governor touched on this, Guam residents will contact their mayor's office to apply, and that is where you file a right of entry, which authorizes us to get on the property and to fix a roof or do an assessment. And that's the second step. Our USACE experts, and I want to highlight 12 to 15 folks from USACE will provide quality assurance and expertise throughout this mission. And they are handpicked from across the nation. Our very, very best that have done this for years, and I would tell you combined probably more than a century of experience with this type of mission. They will assess the roof's damage for eligibility in the program. And then the third piece is our DoD partners will in place a temporary metal roof.
Your team that's here are soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and Guardians. They are in the thick of this with you. More than half of our active duty members and their families live off the installations, and the vast majority of our Department of Defense civilians live off the installations. And so they've been hit by Typhoon Mawar just as everyone else has. But they are also, just like many people in the community, they're stepping up to help where they can. We are very, very pleased that FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers has asked us to help out. In addition to having forces come from off the island and join, you will see some of your hometown Navy Seabees, Air Force Red Horse, and Army engineers working alongside additional forces that are coming to the island as part of the Rise Up program.
We will have the full list of eligibility requirements for Rise Up Now on KUAM.com. Again, you can sign up at your village mayor's office. Guam now has assistance from power crews near and far. Destiny Cruz has the story.
All right, we're here in Tumuning, and as you can see behind me, the GPA line crews are working tirelessly to restore island power. It's both the Saipan and Guam crews working on that line just above us right now. I'm joined by Joyce Sayama, the communications manager with GPA. How are you doing today?
Hi, we're fine. Just, working hard for the people of Guam, and thank you for this. Yes, we're here at Papa 202, which is our feeder circuit, feeding this area here. I think it's the Orleans Plaza. And we have our crew, Bo, up there. He's actually doing repairs to a severed line, side jump. And they're actually taking care of all Tumuning, right? Like I said, the feeder's 202. So from the substation all the way up to Tumuning, they're going to be checking and verifying what repairs are needed in this area. Right. So yes, we have started our phase 2, which is going into the community and repairing all the areas with less or minimal damage, and then eventually after that we'll start getting into phase 3 for the more extensive damage.
Right. And Joyce, you mentioned phase 2 and phase 3 because there's some people out there who are saying, hey, how come some people have power and we don't? Maybe someone down the street from me has power, but we don't have power. So can you take us through what that looks like? Where do they start and where do they prioritize?
So as the general manager has been saying, and of course our releases, we are now on phase 2, which is 3 sectors. We're hitting the north, south, and central areas, and our crews are here. They're here 24 hours, different shifts. We have the assistance of the CNMI. We have the Washington crew coming in. So phase 2 really is to go in and energize as many customers as possible that have less damages. And we will not forget, the GM has mentioned, we will not forget those that have more severe damages. We will start, with them as soon as we get everyone energized with minimal damage. So phase 3 is just a few days away, if not by next week. Our crew, we will not go home until the last customer is restored. Whether you're the business or the residential community, we will continue to work tirelessly, different shifts around the clock to get everyone energized. We're here, we're in this together, and we really thank all the community for their patience and their understanding and for supporting the crews, supporting, everyone that's behind the scene, all our first responders. I mean, we're here, we're one family, one island. Thank you.
With approximately 300 residents at the new Tumuning shelters as of this morning, the American Red Cross is working with local partners to find additional shelter space. Mitsuki Hirayama has more.
We're here at Hilton Guam in Tumon at the Red Cross headquarters to learn more about the Tumuning shelter. And I'm here with Carmela Burke, the PIO for Red Cross. Can you tell me more about the Tumuning shelter? Why was that? Why people are wondering why the warehouse was chosen?
Yeah, and this is the Red Cross working in partnership with the local government. And one of the reasons is the community is actually in the recovery phase. So one of the schools, the school session is coming back, so that is part of recovery. So we found a shelter that would suit the needs of the shelters that need to transition back to the school calendar, if you will. So we found through local businesses, we found the Guam Pack shelter, which can accommodate about 300, evacuees. And so it's a safe place to stay. There's cots, food, water, Red Cross services, showers for them.
As of yesterday, there are about 220 shelteries, but you said the capacity is around 300. How many people are there now?
Right now, there's about 300, and if there is not enough space, we are actually working with, the local partners to find another shelter space. So what happens is, if you go to the shelter and you need a place to stay, we will advise you, encourage you to give us your name and address, so that when we do open the shelter, we will be able to contact you.
And I just want to clarify, so because we did hear from another member of Red Cross that you guys are only accepting for now people who are already in the GDOE shelters and not just the general public who are seeking shelter.
Everyone is welcome at the Red Cross shelter. So if you need something to eat, shower, snacks, and all that, and if there's no room at the shelter and you need a place to stay, do give us your name and address so everyone is aware.
Amid the recovery efforts, here comes a major national story. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted on federal charges and received a summons to appear in court on Tuesday in Miami. This all relates to allegations he improperly handled classified documents after leaving the White House and obstructed the government's efforts to get them back.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump has been indicted for a federal crime, a first in American history. It stems from his handling of classified documents. Details are limited as the indictment is still under seal, but two sources briefed on the matter tell NBC News a grand jury is recommending 7 charges, including false statements and conspiracy to obstruct. Former President Trump made the announcement himself on his social media platform Truth Social, where tonight he's fiercely denying any wrongdoing, calling the case politically motivated.
I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong, and we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years.
The former president is expected to surrender on Tuesday to a federal courthouse in Miami, where activity around the case has ramped up in recent days. The independent special counsel, Jack Smith, who's running the investigation, had originally convened a grand jury in Washington, D.C., but appears to have shifted to Florida, where more than 100 classified documents were discovered at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate last year. Also under scrutiny whether the former president obstructed the federal government's efforts to get the materials back. It's just one of several legal cases surrounding the former president, who's already been indicted on state charges of falsifying business records in New York. The indictment landing just as the 2024 Republican presidential primary is ramping up, with the former president the clear frontrunner, raising the stakes on a politically explosive prosecution. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Back here, the Attorney General has declined to confirm it, but a possible investigation is planned into GPA and GWA's handling of typhoon recovery. In an interview with Ernesto Lecanto, AG Moreland spoke in general terms about his office's responsibility to protect the consumer should there be a failure in provision of essential services.
We are aware that you have subpoenaed records and documents from GPA and GWA for, I guess, an investigation for the grand jury. What can you first confirm that, and what can you tell us about that?
I cannot confirm it. Right now, as I had mentioned before, our government corruption investigations, we do not speak of them. They're confidential, even outside the grand jury. These are sensitive matters that we want to be careful of, both the government officials' rights as well as the public's concern to ensure that people were doing their jobs. And I will note that in general terms, we must recognize that there's a difference between mistakes and people that are paid very comfortable and high government salaries to do certain jobs for us as a community. And when systems fail, the Attorney General has a duty to make sure that those that are injured, which is in this case our community, was not injured because of somebody's gross negligence or failing to do their job. And in that respect, I think that too much suffering has occurred. It's still occurring right now. The loss of water, the loss of power, the inability of the government to quickly restore itself. And, I reflect a bit. I was 10 years old in 1976 when Super Typhoon Pamela hit us during the dry season. These dry season typhoons are not normal. We got hit with, in my opinion, something equivalent to what happened in Pamela. The difference is, for 47 years, our government has hardened its systems and recognized what happens when people lose water and people lose power. And they paid a lot of money to these officials to be prepared. And when so many systems fail, it was a cascade of failures that occurred. From my perspective as the Attorney General, from water to power to communications to fuel, the whole system collapsed. There was a communications blackout right after what I consider a super typhoon. And I welcome the public to scrutinize this government and get the exact figures on how strong that was. You hear typhoon being used. In my opinion, this was stronger than a typhoon when it hit Guam. And I've had communications with the general up north in Anderson, and their machines broke at a certain velocity of winds, which is similar to what I remember in Pangsangwa. One of the super typhoons in the past, their equipment actually failed because it was going so strong. But the Attorney General has the duty to make sure that government officials are following the laws, that these well-paid government officials that are paid high salaries are doing their job. And I will continue doing that as the Attorney General. And this is in relative to the amount of suffering I think is going on out there. It's obvious. We're at 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks after this typhoon, this disaster, and people are still without water in certain areas and those sorts of things.
So if these documents, and you're not confirming it yet, but if there are documents that are presented to a grand jury, they would still have to return a true bill. But would this be for criminal or civil sanctions?
Yeah, Nestor, I will not get into that part of it. I've said it before in terms of the general importance that the government officials be held to the same standards as any other official, and even higher when we recognize their duties and the statutes as well as their salaries. So I cannot speak to that, and I apologize to that extent. But it is important for the Attorney General to send out the message that law enforcement is operating both the criminal and the civil sides, as we talked about the consumer protection, which is a civil type of statute. And we're back up to full strength now at the AG's office. So a forensic analysis has to be done. I welcome the Guam legislature through the oversight chairmen and chairwomen to conduct very extensive oversight hearings on what failed during the last 2 weeks. There's cascade failures that were going on, especially the communications, the inability of civil defense to inform us what happened immediately after the typhoon and the lingering period after that.
All right. We'll be following this. Thanks a lot for your time, Attorney General Douglas Moylan.
You're welcome.
Aid from our families in the CNMI continue to pour in as the island recovers from the typhoon. Regional correspondent Tomas Manglotnia has more on how one local restaurant is cooking up some relief.
Francisco Sablan and his team at Ina's Kitchen on Saipan are giving back one plate lunch at a time.
It's a collaboration between Yaang Corporation here on Saipan and Ina's Kitchen, as well with American Red Cross CNMI chapter. What we're doing is for every plate lunch that is sold or bought here at Ina's Kitchen, we give the proceeds to American Red Cross, which in turn will help support relief in Rota and Guam.
The crowd has been rushing in this week.
Right now it's been pretty hectic. Every day has been busy since day one on Monday. We've definitely sold a lot more lunches than our average. As a matter of fact, just yesterday we probably sold 3 times our max sales from lunches alone. We hope to keep continuing that. Today was another crazy day.
Sablan sees the effort as a symbol of One Marianas as island neighbors answer calls for help during trying times.
Looking back, I do remember a lot of help and relief from Guam, especially with Guam GPA coming out here, seeing them on the roads, helping out fix all our power poles, and along with some of the FEMA people that were here as well at the same time. We try to help each other out. We're neighbors up north, we want to help everybody however we can. Within the 5 years I've been in business here at Ina's Kitchen, I've been able to connect with a lot of businesses in Guam as well. So we've had some collaborations with some businesses on Guam, so we have a connection there. So just trying to help them out, help the people of Guam and Rota, however we can.
The effort runs into this weekend, and they're looking to expand it with more partners.
It's been hectic, but fulfilling, knowing that we're doing a little bit of something to help out.
Tomas Manglotnia, KUAM News, Saipan.
The American Red Cross is calling for local volunteers to participate in training this weekend to help the island recover post-Typhoon Mawar.
As the American Red Cross continues to put all their effort into helping the community get back on their feet in the aftermath of Typhoon Mawar, they are still continuing to look for more volunteers to help in those efforts. And joining me here is Greg Stone with the Red Cross. He's the lead with this training. Can you just tell me more on what this training constitutes of and why you're looking for more volunteers?
Yeah, so we have a different training going on. So we have some shelter fundamentals class, which teaches all the locals on how to run a shelter, a Red Cross shelter. We also are offering the basic food safety for the feeding, because we're feeding lots of people on the island. So we're offering that course as well, along with other logistics overview is another class we're offering. And that logistics means the supplies that we're bringing and how to distribute those supplies out to the people in need. The training for this, to sign up for this, is at the Royal Riga Hotel, Saturday and Sunday, June 10th and 11th from 9 to 5. Get there and we'll sign you up. Any local volunteers.
To register for the training, you can scan the QR code that we have for you right now on KUAM.com. The Salvation Army is going around doing its part to help the community recover. Jason Salas catches up with them.
Boots on the ground, and that's what the Salvation Army Guam chapter has absolutely had since the moment they knew the storm was coming. Captain Hector Costa, one of the leaders of the Salvation Army. Cap, good to see you, and what has been your assessment so far of the outpouring of the volunteerism, of the tirelessness of the work, and of people wanting to help their neighbors here on the island?
Yeah, I love it. You know, this is my first rodeo. I get to work with Major Tom, who was here a while, back, and he's been through storms, and he's kind of served and was able to deploy to some of those. This is our first rodeo in terms of a typhoon, but we got to ride it out with the locals. So we're now baptized, right, with the fire of the typhoon or the water of the typhoon. So we love that we get to experience that with the folks. We were affected like everyone else. To this day, we don't have water, we don't have power. We're running on generators, and we're trying to work with the same resources as everybody else. I love the resilience of the people. I love their willingness to come together. And right now, what we're trying to work on is there's all this energy around response, right? So FEMA's here, Red Cross, comes in and deploys people. But as that energy starts to wind down, what do? The locals, the people who live here, do to transition into recovery? And so we're trying to plan that out, and that's going to be done by the local volunteers, that's going to be done by the local churches, that's going to be done by like the senators' offices that are working with us here today. They're with us passing out the supplies today. It's that energy that's going to continue as we help people stand, and we're going to move from a handout to a hand up. We're going to help people to stand and try to rebuild that resilience, right, for the companies or for the island.
And you've been here long enough on Guam to know that we islanders, and you are now a member of our island family, is we're very grateful.
Yes.
And we would like to give back to you. So what's the status of the thrift store right now? What can we do? How can we volunteer, and how can we give so that you can continue your good work?
Yeah, I love that. I love that willingness of the folks to stand with you, right? So
all in.
Right now, the thrift store we're basically sorting through all the supplies to get clothing and household goods to the folks that are in the shelters. That's kind of like our highest priority right now, supporting that. So we're going to need some help replenishing those goods, and we're going to need help with volunteers sorting the donations. As you get big waves of donations, you need big energy to be able to sort through that and figure out how do we get it into the hands of the people that need it. So we'll need help there. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to need help getting supplies from our warehouse into the households of the people that need it. So we're going to start breaking up into grids so that we can get these out. And that probably sets the Salvation Army apart, is that while there's a lot of units that are saying, hey, come here and sign up for services, hey, come here and we're going to give you something, Salvation Army saying, we're going to come to you, we're going to bring the resources to you, and we've got volunteers that are willing to come to you. So,
what is the best way, the way to donate? Should we donate clothes to the thrift store? Should we go out and buy some food if we're able and give it to the food bank, or is it just better to cut a check?
The best way to do it is cash and cutting a check, and the reason for that is that the needs move from response to recovery. So today it's food and water, but tomorrow it might be household goods, it might be linen, it might be gasoline or propane for your house, right? So cash allows us to kind of pivot into the needs of the folks. So there's that part right there. But if you had clothes, lightly used clothes, or clothes that you're able to wash before you donate, that's a big deal right now. That's a very tangible way that you can give. So if you can bring that over to the thrift store, or if you can bring that and then help us sort some of the donations, that's a very tangible way to give.
Absolutely. Well, Cap, we are absolutely willing to help. And again, we will not forget what you and your team have done and have always done and will continue to do for our island community.
Thank you so much.
We're eternally in your gratitude.
Thanks for helping us get the word out. God bless.
Repairs to government facilities no doubt will be well underway to include over at the Department of Youth Affairs. Julian Hernandez reports.
So I'm here with DYA Director Beverly Brennan to talk about the governor's summer youth program that's still going to go on as scheduled, correct?
Correct. We did not want to cancel it. It's in its third year, and we started in 2021 after a 15-year hiatus. And so we didn't want this typhoon to, wreck many of the kids that are eagerly awaiting to be employed. But it did push us back. We are accepting applications this Saturday, June 10th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at GPO. And youth ages 14 to 17 are eligible to apply. You can come and stop by at DYA in Manila or any of our 3 resource centers to pick up an application. But we're only going to accept completed applications at GPO on Saturday. Really trying to push that message out because of, connectivity issues. So if you could.
Right. I know, as we mentioned, there is connectivity issues happening around the island right now. We're still in recovery mode. But the ones that were able to connect with you guys, have you had teens inquire about the program?
Oh, definitely. We've been having, so shortly after when we opened on Friday, we had families come in asking for the applications because they could not, upload it or download it from their computers. And so we've made copies readily available here and at our resource centers. We want to do everything we can to push the message out to get the kids. We hope to hire, over 1,000 kids.
How was the last year's program? How's that? Because there was such a huge line of students that came in.
There's always a huge outpouring. Obviously, you get it's a positive youth development opportunity. We're going to engage kids in work experience, entry-level work experience. And the only difference between this year and last year, it's going to be 5 weeks because, again, the typhoon cut it short, and we want to respect the start of the new school year.
So, of course, what are the ages that are usually that you're hiring? What are the normal ages that you normally see coming out here?
Okay, so to be eligible, you need to be 14 to 17. We do get some inquiries from younger kids and from older kids. And for the older ones that are 18, we do send them to Department of Labor because they do also have a youth programs component. And so with the younger kids, we say, well, just wait another year. Decide what you want to do, where you want to work, look at the different, talk to kids in your family that have worked the program, and just, figure out an interest and just be sure to name that interest next year when you're eligible.
Well, with you saying that there are younger people that are trying to apply, but of course aren't eligible, do you guys plan on working with the governor to say, hey, maybe we should have a separate internship summer program for these younger kids?
So I'm not, an expert on labor, and so I think that is a discussion that needs to be had with, both our administration as well as Department of Labor. But I know that we do get a really huge interest of ages 14, mostly 15 and 16-year-olds. So really excited to do that. And yes, any way we can enhance our programs here at DY is, something positive. Then we'll look into it.
Well, thank you again, Ms. Brennan, and I hope there will be another great turnout again this year. Thank you.
Now time for your Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club shout-out submitted on KUAM.com. Plus, it's Friday, and we've got a winner of a yummy ice cream cake.
Okay, everybody, Friday, it's the end of the week on this 9th of June, so happy birthday to Benny Jr. Rosalind. Happy birthday to Benny Jr. Thank you for always going above and beyond for our family. You are our rock and our everything, and that means a lot. That's not a title that people take lightly. So you are the rock of your family, and your kids say, we love you, Daddy, and we wish you health and happiness for the future. Love your family always, from Mom, Jaron, Noah, Caden, Isaiah, and Odin. And you know what? Let's get right into our last order of business because we got a cake to give away courtesy of Cold Stone Creamery, and we help it brings you joy and brings you peace. A Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake going out to Marna Lynn Nena. So congratulations to you for your extended birthday present, and for everyone who had a birthday this week or coming up, we wish you the very best. Stay positive, stay happy, stay healthy, and happy birthday to you all.
That's your primetime show. Your eye on recovery is always on. Just head on over to KUAM.com or follow us on social at KUAM News. I'm Nick Delgado. Stay strong, Guam.